Welcome everyone to this edition of First Thought Wrong podcast. Thanks for joining us. Today we have Austin, Brian, and myself. I'm Johnny, and we are sponsored by Never Alone Recovery, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit at the end. But today we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Today, first off, I have to talk about something big. The Christmas decorations are finally coming down. They're not down all the way, but they are like halfway down.
Your nemesis?
My nemesis. The house that I pass coming here every day, they are finally halfway down. And I mean, it's all right. And I don't mean to get on this tangent again, but I mean, they're like big arches over the sidewalk.
Is this going to be like the funeral again? So we're at a funeral the other day, and we're in the middle of the procession, and he just starts pointing out this guy. He goes, that's the guy. That's one of the guys that still has the lights up. And he did a 15-minute tangent while we're approaching the casket about these lights.
Yeah, that didn't happen. See, now you said that. Somebody's going to die. Somebody's going to die. And
that's unfortunate.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Just wanted to say Happy New Year. Because now that it's, we're in the beginning of March, we can obviously say Happy New Year if we can leave Christmas decorations up all year. Mine is the same thing.
Agreed.
Same exact
It's the first
thing.
third.
Okay, so now that tangent is over, I do have something serious I wanted to talk about today, and it's motivation. Motivation. I think motivation is something that, especially if we're talking about recovery. You got to have that motivation. You got to stay motivated. So, and I'm on this weight loss journey again, and motivation is the big thing. Getting out the door, and I think that's for anybody trying to change any aspect of their life. Motivation is the key. Because consistency, we got to stay consistent, got to stay moving. How do we keep that motivation alive? So, first question is, how do you motivate yourself? And you can talk about whatever, topic you want to talk about.
Counter question, is motivation first required for change?
No. But yes, because like for recovery, pain is the ultimate motivation, and pain is what's going to cause you to change. And I mean, that's same as, if you look in the mirror and you say, wow, I am really overweight. I need to change this. It's a pain point. Henry, my 9-year-old, he's skinny. He is just a skinny little shit.
Beanpole.
And he was getting out of the bathtub, and he looks over at me. He says, "You are a lot fatter than I am." And I was like, "Wow, thanks for noticing, jerk." And but that right there, that was a month and a half ago. And
those truths are the hardest to swallow. Iris will say, "Daddy, your boobies don't have milk." Yeah, they don't. So not only is she saying, "Hey, you got boobs," but they also suck.
Yeah,
they suck. Mommy's boobies are awesome.
Yeah,
those are great.
Useless.
These are terrible.
These are useless. So a month and a half ago, Henry tells me this, and poof, that was my motivation for getting my stuff together. And, now I'm down some weight and exercising regularly and doing all sorts of cool stuff. But that was like the beginning. That was my motivation, and now that, I'm here, now it's the everyday. Every day, you gotta push yourself to go to the gym, push yourself to do this, push yourself to do that. I think, it's the same for, pushing yourself to go to meetings, pushing yourself to go to school, pushing yourself to do anything in life that's going to better us or something along those lines. So what would be your main motivator? What keeps you going?
I struggle with the gym thing. I've got to wait till the pain is really great until I'm motivated to do something different. Because typical Brian fashion, I always want the easier, softer way. I want to walk in.
Just tell him to stop kissing you.
Yeah. I want to walk
Tell
in.
Jim, you stop it.
I want to walk in and it just happen, right? I don't want to put in the required work. So getting the motivation or the willingness is what it's about. I struggle with that right now. I've been talking about the gym a lot lately, and I haven't done anything yet.
Take a page from that one guy. I don't know, it's like a 600-pound guy. We've talked about this before. So there's a, very overweight and unhealthy man who begins his journey of I need to become healthy. And so he starts by just going to this gym, and he walks in the door, and at first he doesn't even get to the door. He just gets to the parking lot and then he leaves. And so the gym staff start to take notice, and then this goes on for a month, and then eventually he starts just coming into the gym, checking in and then leaving. And so they're just wondering, hey, what's going on? Like, clearly this guy should be in the gym getting healthy. What the hell is going on here? And someone finally confronts him, maybe day 90, when he finally sits down to do an exercise or whatever. And they're like, so I notice that you come here a lot and you leave. Like, what's going on? And he said, well, first and foremost, the hardest thing for me to ever do is actually make it to the gym. He's like, working out's easy. Once I'm here, it's easy. I needed to first master the skill of arriving at the proper place, arriving to the gym, before I really could make any sort of commitment to myself to do it, to work out, to lose the weight, to stay motivated, to blah, 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 blah. And I think that might be it for you there. I mean, I did it. I still do it this week's been terrible for me. Just with we had somebody in last week, so we still had to go to the gym, but it just kind of throws off the schedule. And I have this sleep habits of an extremely dysfunctional human being, so it makes it even more challenging. But sometimes I just go and I'll like I was telling you the other day, I'll jump in the pool, I'll swim like 5 to 10 laps. That's it. I don't feel like that's as much of a workout as I'd like, but I also know I feel better doing something than nothing. And I think it's those incremental wins that if you could just simply master the effort of getting to the gym, because I feel like it's all bullshit. It's all the way we phrase it to ourselves or the way we look at it. Two people could have the same idea and very different perspectives on it. You know what I mean? And I think for me, especially early in recovery, I just focused on like showing up to meetings, and I was focused more on like, what are we doing after? Like, where are we going to go hang out, get food? I didn't care about the meeting. I didn't care about it, dude. I was definitely going to offer some deep insight at that meeting, of course. And I know that most people were coming for that. So
profound.
Yeah, something that But it's the social aspect after the meeting that kept me around in the meetings until I was finally ready to hear and really be present in the meetings. And at that point, then once most of the people you talk to are in recovery, it just subtly becomes your life. Like I was thinking about it, like with Nate, for example, we're working together trying to build this thing. And, like there was a lot of, play music, fuck around, play Xbox, do whatever. But also those little touch points where we're checking in, like little bits of recovery get brought up, or self-improvement, whatever you look at. This doesn't apply to just recovery. This is anyone who's trying to change and better their life with something difficult. I just created that accountability unintentionally to where, if and I would say the gym's an easy example. If the 5 people you talk to the most go to the gym frequently, I would say your odds are statistically more significant that you'd go to the gym. Except in Brian's case, because we all go to the gym.
Right. My dad, 78 years old, goes to the gym almost every day.
What about the boy? Does he go to the gym?
Same thing.
Damn.
I need that accountability partner. With her work schedule, we used to go together a lot. And now that she works so much, I just don't get there. It's hard to go by myself. And, everybody's got different schedules, different that. And I've got a lot of excuses. So that's my biggest struggle. I asked Johnny a month ago, hey, when are you going to the gym? Go to Planet with me. And he wouldn't do that. He wanted to go to the geriatrics gym because it helps with his ego. So
it doesn't because
you see some of them doing
the gym that Austin and I go to, we it's predominantly for physical therapy, but it's got a really nice gym. So there's a lot of elderly people that go there, and when you see like this 70-year-old man over there, deadlifting, 315 pounds, for reps, and it's just like, oh my gosh. Man.
So I have a question. Is shame a sustainable motivator? And how long does it last?
I think so. I think
it can start you.
I want to be like Irving. No, that's it. It's it's like, wow, I should be there too. Why am I not?
I feel like for me, I was a fat kid my whole life, pretty much.
Me too.
So it's rooted deep in there. I feel like this last go around is the two things. So it's a little bit of shame and a little bit of self-love in a weird way. It's almost like I had to love myself for being a fat guy before I was willing to make any sort of effort to not be one. You know what I'm saying? At least sustainable effort. Now, you helped a lot with accountability. Just we'd go together, do this together, whatever, and it was enough to start to where I could maintain it. But it was the arms thing, that Colleen. I'll never forget that. So basically, my wife was like, just after she's had another baby, she was just not feeling good about herself. She was like, just saying, God, my arms are so fat. And they're not. They never have been. She's just a naturally fit bastard, which is bullshit. But she said to me, she goes, well, you're lucky. Your arms are so skinny. And I was like I know she didn't mean it like that, but like it didn't matter at that point. I said, lucky me.
Lucky.
That next day, I had a gym membership. I've never stopped going since.
And I just complimented you the other day because your arms are looking good. You're looking a little beefcake over there.
Thank you.
Is that why we're rocking the flannel and
to let everybody know?
Start chopping wood and handling axes and stuff like that. There you go.
It was probably Tim that did that, not Al Borland.
Yeah. That was what Brian called him before.
So would you rather, if you had to pick one, who would you want to spend an intimate week on a private island with that you had to spend the whole time with him? Al Borland or Tim the Toolman Taylor?
Definitely Al Borland.
Really?
Definitely
Why?
Al Borland.
I'm curious.
I think Tim would get way annoying way fast.
Doing all those like type of things.
Just talking. And
Al's just doing craftsmanship.
Absolutely.
He's just woodworking, building benches, desks, tools.
Necessities.
Yeah. And then snuggling you at night. Because you know he'd want to snuggle.
All right, so back to the motivation thing. There's a rationale behind this because I'm looking for specific things that motivate you, right? Little things that we can do throughout the day that different people can pick up and maybe, try out, music. You put on the right song and the right song is going to push you into the right, frame of mind. Like before I give a lead, there's a few songs that I listen to. Hoobastank, The Reason, which is an awesome song, and it's a big portion of my sobriety, and Blessings by Chance the Rapper. I love that song, and I put them on. It gives me the right frame of mind to go in and share my story, and
then Jamiroquai.
Then a little Jamiroquai. Never hurt nobody.
My song is Be Something by Polo G. When him and I were in Texas and I was getting ready to speak, and I had never spoke on a scale like that. And that's what I played. Little motivation, little confidence builder, Give me the oomph I need.
Absolutely, dude.
Get over the hump.
And you never know what song is going to hit you, right? And be that influential song. You throw on Master of Puppets. I'm ready to go work out after I listen to Master. Okay, let's go do something, And then if you want to chill, you got there's that motivation, There's so many good songs to just like, put me in that chill mode,
So how much does intent play? I think that's something people don't talk about. Reference to mindset or motivation is intention. Like actually, there's two things. Like so early on, I had a friend that shared a few like kind of like those little nuggets. Those guys that just have the pull quotes. And he told me a few things that I think really shaped my vision of it. And maybe if I say them, it'll resonate to somebody else. Because I've always felt that if something resonates with you, it's because it's already in you and you're just recognizing it in me. It's not that I have anything different, better, or special. But he told me a few things. One being that the world is not happening to you. You are happening to it. Accountability, right? That's the reality. Two, the truth is always subject to revision. The things that you tell yourself might be true today, might not be true tomorrow. And it's also worth considering Is it true because I tell it to myself? I'm not enough. You suck. You're the worst. You'll always fail. Nobody likes you. Whatever it is, it's true the second you say it to yourself. Because then it's going to be said to everyone else in the world through your actions, and just there's something about in just the feeling you get around certain people. And then the third one, kind of branching off those two, is that, I noticed he brought it up one day, and basically there's a guy I was supposed to call back and I just didn't. And so I just realized it at 7:00, way too late. And I was just like, God, I can't believe I forgot to call this guy back. I'm such a dick. Like, I'm the worst. Like, he's going to fire me as a client. He's like, whoa, dude, like, that's pretty intense. He's like, what if you just said, hey, tomorrow I'm going to set some time aside to call him back, and then actually say the time and then write it down. Like, it's so simple, right? But in that moment, it was like mind blowing to me. It was like a Dr. Phil kick in the nuts. Like, well, if you just would have done this, goddamn, it would have worked. Like, just, he comes out with those things where it's some weird phrase, and you're like, oh, wow. That's how it was. And it was like, I wrote down, I'm going to call him back at 11 tomorrow. I did it.
That was a pretty good Dr. Phil impersonation. You just kind of threw that in there.
Well, I think I could do Dr. Phil quite a bit.
That was pretty.
We need to have a sit down.
Pretty good.
Have a sit down, John. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your relationship to sex.
So what you brought up brought up a big question. And
that's what I do, John. That's why I have a PhD. They call me Dr.
So
Phil.
we're talking about motivation, negative motivation versus positive motivation. What gets you? What works better for you? Well, I was in the Army, right? And I had drill sergeants, drill sergeants, they beat you down and so they can build you back up, right? And those initial first few days when they're just screaming and yelling and rah, 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 did nothing for me. Did nothing for me. It was not motivating. It was just like, okay, let's get through this moment.
Yeah.
But so I'm a big enthusiast of positive motivation. Let's build each other up instead of, breaking each other down. But some people need that. Some people it works for different
Fear, I think, will get you results sometimes, but true motivation will get you outsized results. Like, that's how you get the big win. And I think, too, like, motivation and manipulation, I've always thought, are two sides to the same coin. If we motivate each other, we both win. If I manipulate you, I win, you lose, And I think fear has always been, it's manipulative. I don't see any other way it can't be. Like, inspiration. What is it? You remember Tim? Big Tim?
Yes.
Yeah, so Big Tim hit me. Tim will come out with these insightful, he's someone we should definitely bring on the podcast. He's perfect for this. Come out with these insightful nugs out of nowhere. And he said that true altruism is only born through inspiration, never through manipulation. Like, if you want people to go out and do good in the world, like if you want to sit down together and then we both leave and go do good in the world, that's good interaction. That's fulfilling. It's additive. It only builds. Versus, like, if I convince you to do something for my gain and you lose and you're resentful, I feel like it's reductive. It sucks the energy out of our life form. There's something to that. Like,
absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly with that.
We need to get an MIT guy on here. They just found that the electromagnetic.
When people go to meetings trying to find recovery, if they go in there and they see a bunch of slubs around, they're not into it. Why would I want to stay here?
Yeah.
But if you see good people laughing and cutting it up and telling stories and all that stuff. It's like, oh man, I kind of want to get.
This could be
that.
cool.
Just like you were talking about with the fellowship.
Yeah,
he's
a big motive. Like, he's very you do a great job finding inspiration. Even places where you don't think there's much, you do a really good job of just seeing what's there to be inspired by, and then you run with it. I'd love to hear about that. What that's like for you.
Well, I want to go back to what he was saying first. So it's about the attraction, right? And also the hope that, like, my life can be like Johnny's life or whoever's life too, and I can be a part of something, because addiction, of course, is isolation. Whereas the hope is the hope that I can be a part of it, whether it's fitness, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whatever, I can be a part of something greater than myself. That's what does it for me. And then, like, to what you're talking about, repeat the question again so I can.
I said you do a good job, I think, finding the motivate or whatever inspiration or motivation there is to be had in a room or in a person or in a piece of content on social. You find it, and then you kind of take it in and use it as fuel for yourself.
Well, it's like even when something's bad, right? There's, people talk about the silver lining. There's always something that can be learned or gained from any situation, any conversation, any experience that we have in life. And, with having so many bad experiences, that I learned how to find those good things. I learned how to look beyond what I wanted something to be and create something out of it. So
tell us, Brian, what do you think shaped that behavior in you?
pain.
Well, see, we've talked about this before. A lot of things that we do it's learned behavior. We learned something that makes us feel good, something that makes us feel better, and then it's going to become a part of us. For just personal experience, I know I don't drink, I don't use drugs, and if I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling perplexed, some Oreos and some milk will make me feel better. I'll get a sugar high and a euphoric state, even if it's only for 30 seconds. I'll feel better, and I'll do that again and again and again until I'm 300 pounds.
Is it better or different though?
It's in my mind better, even for a second.
From the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah, exactly, dude. That's exactly right. And that's that learned behavior, and it's sick. It's sick. It's twisted, and it's a bad thing. But if I can unlearn that, relearn, new behaviors, such as going to the gym, getting on the bicycle, going for a run, whatever it may be, then I'm relearning new behaviors, and if you stick to the gym, stick to a routine for 21 days, it becomes habitual, and then you just kind of go at it and keep getting after it. Doesn't make it any easier, especially right now with it's still being cold and trying to go outside. It's just miserable. And getting older, I think I got old bones now. Because it's like
you got them old bones.
I'm telling you, dude.
Them old bones, John.
A dozen years ago, I was running in negative 20 degrees, and now it's like 20 degrees, positive, and I'm outside. I'm like, oh, no thanks.
Yeah.
Just don't have that hardcore energy anymore.
So how much do you think it's rebranding, if you will? Because I've always felt like for me, the more shame I kind of assign, like say, oh, that's bad. God, this is terrible. Because the reality is, like, somewhere along the way, we needed the bag of Oreos to survive, right? And I think like it's the hardest thing to do. It's very easy to see in other people. It's very difficult to see in ourselves. But like that little bit of compassion goes a long way of, rather than saying like, God, this is such a terrible behavior. Like I'm the worst. I always fuck things up. No one can count on me. You go down that rabbit hole where it's just constant, like somehow I am the worst. Which I learned early on, 2 years in, that's still just ego-driven nonsense. I didn't realize that self-centeredness applies to both. I'm not the best, but I'm also not the worst. I'm just like everyone else. And the minute I say comparison's the thief of joy, the minute I start comparing myself to myself, I lose. In that way, when it's in that regard of this is the worst, I'm the worst, or I'm the best, they all need to listen to me. In that regard, you always have to use yourself as a reference point. But I think once I started changing it for myself to like, is this what I want? Do I want to show for my kids to grow up seeing me be at that time like 300 pounds overweight? I'm like 270 now, so 30 pounds down. Do I want them to see me live my life as a 300-pound guy that's out of shape, that can't play with them the way I want to, that can't run around and be active? And also the thing of like, I'm kind of showing them that, hey, no big deal. No big deal here. Who cares? I think as a parent, that's the thing I'm most grateful for having kids is it entrenched in me a responsibility that I feel more obligated to fulfill than I ever would have with myself. Like, you can always write shit off for yourself. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's a lot easier. But like, when I think about it in that context of, man, I'm telling my kids, say I like the eating thing or something like that, when I'm going through hardship and I bury it all and I hide it and then I go find something to stimulate me, food, gambling, whatever. I'm just kind of showing them, hey, this is when stuff's hard, this is how you deal with it. And that kind of broke my mind of like, damn, because if you said to do it to me, I wouldn't care, which shows you how much I'd value my own life. But if you said, hey, this is what you're doing to the kids, all of a sudden I have a deeper sense of responsibility that I'm not willing to let go of that, honor of showing them the right way to live.
Let's see now. In that same sense, it's for our children. It's it's something we have to do, right? We have to be a good role model. We have to be somebody who they can look up to, But I think it's way bigger than that. It's way bigger than that because everybody in the world is struggling. Everybody in the world is broken, and you never know who is going to motivate, whoever to help in some way, shape, or form. I post all of my runs. Unfortunately, anybody who's friends with me on Facebook knows this fact. I post all my runs. I post some of my workouts, things like that, just because I want to be a motivator.
It's gotten me to the gym before.
If I
swear to God,
if I can motivate anybody, that's if Johnny can do it, anybody can do it.
You ran in like -2 degrees or something one time, and I wasn't going to the gym, and I was like, fuck.
Well, it's not just that. All the comments, all the likes, all the stuff like that keeps you motivated as well.
Absolutely.
Not just you motivating others, helping you stay motivated. As well.
I post all that stuff, but I only post once a year about my recovery. Once a year. On January 6th, I'll post that, my sobriety date, the year and stuff like that. And kind of a big heartfelt message because it's a big day.
Yeah.
And every year without fail, someone has hit me up and said, hey, I've got a problem. Or, hey, I know somebody who's got a problem. Every year without fail since I've been doing it. I only do it once. I do it once a year. Other than that, everybody knows that I'm sober. But, once a year, and I get somebody to hit me up. So that's why I do that. I want to be motivation for someone else. Not that I mean anything. I'm not that important. But if I can get, and I've gotten a few people running, a few people in my life over the past, when did I start running? 2013 was my first marathon. Since 2013, I've got, probably like half a dozen guys that have just said, wow, if Johnny can do it, I guess I can do it too. And it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
It is. You're not going to get me running though.
I'll get your ass
The
running.
only people get me running, we know, the cops. That's it.
even then it's more of a hobble, but nonetheless.
Yes, hobble.
Well, it's different too. I think for you, it's can you find compassion in yourself for a lot of the injuries you have? They're serious injuries. And I feel like you have zero zero. It's like, you idiot, you got fucked up and this happened and now you're hurt and it's your fault. And I wonder if that's the thing that's holding you back.
Well, that
just food for thought, Brian. Something to think about.
Yes. So I struggle.
Let's dive in, Brian. Come
I
on.
showed you those pictures of myself a couple of years ago, right before the accident. I was in shape. And it's not like just going to the gym to get to that point again. I've got to overcome all these injuries too. And it almost feels insurmountable. So it's like, why even try? So, I sell myself short. And a lot of times
that right there is the most common thing I think everyone can relate to. Is like, I'll just fail on purpose. So that way that nobody has any expectations.
Right. It's easier that way.
But we're afraid to fail we don't want to do it because we're afraid to fail. So we just guarantee the failure. Whereas if we just do it, we guarantee the success.
Yes.
Huh. Now, do you find that interesting, Brian? Because I do.
See, I think that goes back to depression and anxiety and all that other stuff. That's all mental health stuff, And I think, diving into a bag of Oreos is an antidepressant,
I'm more of a pot roast guy.
Yeah.
I like to cook, so I cook the savory stuff. It's so much easier. It's better. It's
so should we be on the lookout if you start offering pot roast? Because you did offer me what sounded amazing. Was it Philly cheesesteak pot roast or something?
No, it was
something crazy like that.
Fajito pot roast.
There you go. Something I was like, I got to try that. So now it's
so good.
That's good because I have with a friend of mine. He basically told me one time, hey, if you see me doing this, just to let you know, that means I'm probably real depressed and I'm deep down in the hole. And not that I expect it to be your responsibility, but I think that's like the beauty. It's the greatest gift of recovery. And just like, dude, where else do you get a guaranteed, 10 people that will really care about you and go out of their way to be there for you, show up? Like you and I, all three of us have someone we can call at 2 a.m. outside of this room. Like my car's broke down, I need help, or have called you for shit before a person. Like, please just get here now. And he's there, 5 minutes, boom, done. You're lucky to have that,
What time in the morning did you say?
So like, what was like 2 or 3 in the morning?
I'm calling you for sure because I know
Yeah,
you'll be
you're
awake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would call Austin at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
For
I'd
sure.
be fine with that.
He's the one always awake. That's,
Yeah.
that's he's going to answer. I know it. I'm good. I'm getting home that night.
Yeah,
That's true.
Thank God he doesn't have a sleep schedule.
No.
That's our plus. His mind.
Crack time.
Yeah.
Never left it. You can put down the crack, but the crack time don't leave. Even though I've never smoked crack, but still.
There was one other time in life that was really difficult, and I mean, this is a high class problem. But when I went to school, I was much older. I didn't start school until I was 26, and I went with all these younger people, right? And I wound up I was at Loyola. I'm 28, 29 years old, and I had to do this introduction to fiction or some class like that, and we read a lot, and found this Dylan Thomas poem, "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night," and that has been a constant motivator for me for a long time. Rage against the dying of the light means so many different things, but
I feel like we got to pull that up because I'm interested. Who is it?
Dylan Thomas is the poet, but "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night." It's a great poem, and you're not dead yet.
Right.
You're not dead yet. Keep going. Keep pushing. You can do it. You can do more. You can do better.
Well, let's read it. So Dylan Thomas, do not go gentle into that good night. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now, with your fierce tears I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light.
It's pretty awesome, right?
That's intense.
It's pretty awesome. And I still remember the first time I read it, and the first time it was eye-opening. And it was just like, wow, I'm not dead yet. It's time to keep going, and having all this time sober, I was actually just at H&I, hospitals and institutions, going and talking to patients. This past week, I went 2 times, once to a rehab, once to a detox facility. And, that's the message that we bring, is the message of hope, and sure, you have screwed up, we all did. We're walking, talking examples of, hey, we were screwed up, and now we are less screwed up. And I might still be screwed up, but I don't drink and use drugs to
I live with it, and I live a meaningful life.
But because of it, I mean, we have so many abilities and so many things that we can still do, dreams. I'm a big fan. We got to talk about dreams because, when I drank and did drugs, I didn't have any dreams. And, and I'm jealous of the people that can drink normally and do drugs normally. Not that there's many normal drug doers, there's not too many, recreational heroin people that
there's not too many recreational users of any substance, dude.
But those people that can stay on focus and finish.
That's going to upset a lot of people. I just realized they're going to take that personally. Which, if you take it personally,
and
that's
I'm jealous
indication.
of that because my dreams were of the next party, of the next high, of the next whatever, And now, I can actually do things. I've run 4 marathons. I didn't finish the 5th one that Brian likes
Wasn't
to.
going to say anything.
Brian
I wasn't
likes
either.
to. You wanted to.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Yeah.
You've reminded me multiple times. Not that breaks my heart every time, but whatever. I'm cool with it. But I've and it's a training program. If you want to run a marathon, it's 18 weeks. You train, 4 days a week, and and you do
treat it like a job. You go hard
and keep going. And honestly, I like the training program more than the marathon. Because it puts a little regiment into my life.
Do you feel like it's because it's a finite thing? It's easier for you to accept in your head? Like, well, I'm going to train hard for these 6 weeks, then I'll run the marathon, and there's like an emotional payoff. Because I feel like when we think of things, like I've always loved, the Just for Today thing, I feel like the longer you go on, it has a little more meaning and significance, where the cliches become less annoying and you're more like, damn, that is not a lie. That is spot on.
All along.
Yeah. But I think like you see it in advertising and buying behavior. When people feel like there's no end in sight to the purchase, like a subscription with no end in sight, it's a lot harder to rationalize it, even if it does make sense. I think the same thing's true for committing to doing things as people. Is like, if I'm thinking, okay, I need to get in shape forever, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to change everything in my life. I'm going to change my whole life. It's like, it's too overwhelming. I never do anything. This week, I'm going to get to the gym 1 time. And then on Sunday, I reset that week. This week, I'm going to get to the gym 2 times. But setting those, again, that's why I brought up the intent thing. I've noticed that I don't do it as often as I would like. And it's something, you know what? This week, I'm going to do it. This Sunday, I'm going to actually do it again. I usually will write out so shout out Tyler. We could repost this and he'd love it. I went to this like men's retreat thing with Gav, and it was pretty cool because this guy, he does like a lot of motivational stuff. He's the most phenomenal shape of anyone I've ever met. Great relationship with his kids. Like, he's living a good life. Like, he was explaining to me, I was making a lot of money. I was doing this, and I realized that I cut my business in half and I make this much, and I take my kids to school every day, and it is the fucking best. I'm at the park with them at 3:30. You know what I mean? Like, he realized that's what mattered to him. And so he's like, this is what I'm doing. And one thing he said is every week he learned this from somebody he really respected, that he sets out to move 3 big stones every week. And that's all he focuses on, is what can I do to move these 3 big stones? And he said a lot of times it's moving many pebbles over and over again. And like the whole thing is you basically take like 3 big things you want to do, and then you figure out what are the little pebbles I need to move that'll feed that goal. And I did that for a while, and I felt the least fearful I think I'd felt ever, because it's like, okay, I'm applying myself. I'm intentional. I was enjoying work more. I was able to leave work at work when I go home. It put me in the right frame of mind. And I feel like there's something to be said for that writing process of, I've always felt like it bypasses the ego. It's one of the only ways to get pure truth from myself. Like when I was writing my 4th step, and I wrote like 11 pages of just absolute bullshit, dude. I'm not kidding. Like, it was just complete bullshit. And it was the last thing I wrote when I was like, oh my God, every relationship I've ever been in my entire life was based entirely out of fear of either this is the best it'll ever be, or I'll be alone forever. And it was like all that writing for just the 1 page, but a fundamental truth that helped me reshape my whole life. So I feel like, so I'm wondering, do either of you do that? Have you found writing to be helpful, whether it's writing to learn more about yourself, or just writing to say, you know what, this week, this is what I'm going to do. I'll just shut up, because my mom used to tell me that all the time as a kid, checklist builds self-esteem. And it's like, she would just hammer that. And so like, I didn't want to listen to that, but I've learned over the years, like she's right. Like there is a feeling of, you have a list. You ever one of those days around the house, like I'm going to do this gutter thing. I'm going to get this part. I'm going to do this. And you check a few off that list. You take a look in the mirror and you say, hey there, slugger, what's going on? It feels great. It does. It just feels good. Do either of you do that?
I don't. Do you?
On occasion, not as frequently as I should. I'll do workout programs where I'll have stuff written down, or, have a program in front of me that I check stuff off of, but actually putting pen to paper is just the hardest thing in the world.
All right. So I'm going to commit on both of their behalf and my own Let's make that a weekly check-in. Well, I'll do it. I mean, three big stones. We could share one of them or all three. And if anybody watching wants to participate, submit yours. Like, the whole point of this is to uplift people, right? Like, let them participate, and we'll do it by example.
I do think we need to bring up, yes, goal setting is super important.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing. The biggest problem with people who set goals is when they don't hit those goals. And suddenly it's like, okay, I'm done with this. That's when do people start working out? New Year's resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
New Year's resolutions. We're going to start on New Year's Day. That's when we're doing it. And they're gung-ho, and I've done it. Hey, New Year's Day, I'm doing it. That's my first day at the gym. And you never go to the gym on New Year's Day. That's the worst. Or the second or the third.
It is the worst. I went, dude, and it was awful.
Yeah.
I just wasn't thinking about it because it just fell on the day I was going to the gym normally. It was a terrible experience.
Yeah, but then 2 weeks later, you go back to the gym, and it's the same as it was before. And that's the thing is people set these goals for themselves, or they make these lofty goals. They don't reach them. Therefore, it's okay. I'm done doing this.
Well, I think the key when setting goals is people set the big goal, and then they don't break it down into the smaller, more attainable goals in the immediate. They just set the, whatever it is, 1 year goal, and they don't break it down in the simplest form. And then they're like, why am I not hitting it? And then they get overwhelmed, down on themselves, and then they never have a chance.
And they're nondescript. It's like, I'm going to lose 80 pounds I'm going to lose 80 pounds. And it's like, how? Like, it's not about the end result. I think what was worked for me, for what it's worth, and feel free to chime in the comments, because I mean, this is something you got to hear people's experience on to get, but I feel like it's like if my goal right now is, I think I would be very happy. I think I would be my most happy, most just healthy self. I was like 230 pounds. So that's about 40 pounds down from where I'm at now, give or take, right? I don't focus on weighing 230 pounds. It's more so, how am I going to get there? Just starts with getting to the gym and doing, X amount of workout. Like cardio's one. Rocco was ripping on me about it. He's like, you don't do any cardio? Like, what's wrong? It's like a 13-year-old. And I'm like, dude, shut your mouth. And it's like, but he's right. Like, for my heart, like, you got to do a balance. So what am I doing now? I hate it, but I'm starting with 10 minutes. Could I do more than 10 minutes? Absolutely. But if I set it at 10 minutes, I'll do it. And once I'm in there and I do 10 minutes, guess what usually happens? I do 15, 20. Yeah. So it's like you make the goal attainable and enough that gets you into the activity, and then it's easy. You know what I mean? That's why they tell you build a habit, 90 meetings in 90 days. Like, they're just teaching you to get to the meeting and call these people. I don't think you have to listen to a single fucking thing in that meeting for 90. I don't think it matters at all, as long as you make it to the room. As long as I get into this room, I'll be fine. I used to tell myself all the time, it's not, I have to stay, it's 2:00, something happened. So the Peen Bear situation, right? This chick I was dating, she gets high, and I'm chasing her around, and I'm still clean, and I'm trying to save somebody, and that whole thing. And I had this moment where I looked at this lamp, and it was right when I moved into my own house for the first time ever. I looked at this lamp. I don't know why this lamp, but I just said, I live alone. And you know what that means. That means I could lock the door. I have some money in my bank account. I could destroy all of this. Not that I wanted to. That scared me enough to call somebody, which I did. And I just sat there for like 3 hours, it was maybe 3, 4 o'clock. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to make sure I stay clean till 7 p.m. Time of the meeting. It wasn't about, I got to stay clean forever. It's like, all I had to do is make it till 7 p.m. Didn't think about it at all after that meeting. Because I went in the meeting and said, I thought about this today, and it scared me. That was it. And I think that's the last time I ever genuinely thought about getting high. Like a genuine thought with a maybe in the back of my mind. I think there's something to that. It's like setting it realistic. It's not stay sober the rest of your life. It's not, have a 6-pack in 6 months. It's like, okay, what I'm going to be at the gym once a week for the next 3 weeks.
I think set attainable goals and keep yourself accountable. Have an accountability buddy. That's always good. And don't beat yourself up if you don't hit those goals, but stay accountable. It's just like, if you have a manager at work, right? And at the beginning of the week, you set out a bunch of goals. This is what I'm going to accomplish this week. At the end of the week, you go over your list. This is your job. This is what you do. And if you hit everything, you're going to get an attaboy. If you don't hit everything, you should still get an attaboy. because you at least gave it a go. You had the desire, it just didn't manifest.
Right.
And the next week you still have another list, another set of goals. Maybe it's the same as last week. Maybe it's different than last week. Maybe you realized I took on a little too much last week. Maybe, we learn from our mistakes, and they're not failures, they're setbacks. And we learn from them, grow from them, and keep going from there on. I think this has been a tremendous conversation today. I'm hoping that people actually do comment and tell us their stories about, setting goals, how to get motivated, where things have aligned. Maybe they really don't like Dylan Thomas, and they're going to be upset that we read that poem online. I don't think so, because it's a phenomenal poem.
Also, comment if you could find any of our doppelgangers of any race or ethnicity. We were accepting submissions for that.
Absolutely. But before we sign off, we do want to talk about Never Alone Recovery. If you have a problem, be it alcohol, drugs, mental health, whatever, Never Alone Recovery is who you call. And Brian, what's the number?
1-855-831-9996.
There you go. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
Ta-ta for now.
Later.